Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and today I am in town visiting the Twin Falls Subaru to show you guys 7 of the top reasons why I think Subaru is now objectively the #1 rated brand and reliability, at least according to Consumer Reports, going into the 2025 model year. And if you're new to my channel, I've actually personally owned a few Subarus. I've owned 3 brand new ones, 3 different models over the last 5 years, and I've had 0 issues with them over roughly 100,000 miles of driving. So I'm going to show you all 4 different engines offered in Subarus. I'm going to show you a lot of important reasons for why this is now the #1 brand in reliability. And if you get anything out of this video, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll link Twin Falls Subaru below if you see anything very interesting and exciting on their inventory lot. With that said, let's get right into the 7 reasons Subaru is now the most reliable brand you can buy. So the first point is my own personal experiences, which in the hierarchy of typical research and literature, that is kind of the least valuable aspect that you can go off of. But having put about 100,000 miles on between a 2-liter Crosstrek, a 2.5-liter Subaru Forester, and a 2.4-liter turbo Subaru Outback, we've had no issues. I changed the oil myself. I've done all the basic maintenance myself. There's been no leaking. There's been no oil burning. There's been no concerns with any of those vehicles. Even the electronics, the only actual issue that I've ever had was the wireless charger in my Outback went out, but that's kind of a third-party add-on. That's not even really based off of Subaru. And Toyota has a 20% stake in Subaru. Like you can see on this Subaru BRZ, it has 4DS, so it has direct and port injection, making this a very reliable engine. But we're gonna go over to the other Subaru engines, and I'm gonna show you what they have in common, what the Subaru Global platform is all about, and why these are consistently so easy to work on and so reliable. So I'm coming over here to a WRX, and a lot of Subarus typically range between $25,000 to $40,000, unless it's the giant 3-row SUV. That can be in the mid-upper 40s if you really get a loaded out trim level. But this is a WRX, a $34,000 example, and it has a turbocharged engine and a 6-speed manual transmission. Manuals are just straight up simpler. They're more easy to work on if you ever had to work on one than an automatic. There's less moving parts and they're just a more simple design. I've really not heard any issues on the modern manual transmissions from Subaru. And if we're being honest, some people are concerned about the Subaru CVTs, but let me remind you guys, they are built in-house. They are chain driven, not belt driven. And I follow enough enthusiast car forums to know that there are fewer transmission concerns on Subaru forums than there are on a lot of the other automakers. So if we really look into the nitty-gritty components that make up the most complex Subaru engine currently offered, the intercooler is right up top. The air filter is in the box. There's piping and plumbing that goes down to the Garrett turbocharger that's at the bottom and the front of the engine. If you lift these vehicles up, you can actually very easily access that, and you can even see where it's located on a video that I have about my own formerly owned Outback. But overall, the alternator is right there. The front mount accessories on the engine are right here. For being unibody vehicles, this might be the only platform that offers longitudinally mounted engines. So the AC compressor's right there, the serpentine belt. Literally everything is super easy to get to. They even have a top mount oil filter. What other unibody vehicles offer that? You also have the battery, the fuse boxes on the periphery. You have everything easy to get to, other than the spark plugs, which are only due about every 100,000 miles. But the maintenance on these global Subaru platform designs really is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And if we take a look again at the BRZ, it's going to look really similar. Instead of having the air intake manifold up top, you just have the intercooler on top if it's a WRX. But otherwise, there's a lot of room to work under the hood. Everything is really well established, really refined. Subaru is not a brand that scraps their engines and transmission designs and then they redo them with every new generation. They keep refining theirs. So maybe 20 years ago, I might not have bought a Subaru or trusted them. You know, they used to have the leaky head gaskets and some of those issues. But if you are still stuck on that, you are living in the past, because those are not common issues. These don't burn oil. They don't have any other issues compared to any other one-off vehicle. This one specifically is partially designed by Toyota with their collaboration and Toyota's 20% stake in this. But Subaru just keeps making more and more refined vehicles, and they fix all the problems that the previous generations had. But since most Subarus are the automatic, and it is a CVT that is chain-driven as mentioned, there's actually only 2 variations of those for the most part. There's the TR580, so that lower number goes into the non-turbo examples, or there's the TR690, and that's more of the turbocharged example. So a lot of Subarus that you find, a lot of these vehicles on the lot, they are all going to be automatics. They are all going to be one of those 2 powertrain options, but most of the Subarus currently offered in the United States market are non-turboed. So most of these vehicles, just about everything you see here, has the exact same transmission. So there are a lot of them out there. This one is a 2-liter Impreza. So this is the smallest engine. This engine is kind of being phased out, but look at it. Does it really look any different than what you've seen so far, which is the high revving 2.4 liter in the BRZ or the 2.4 liter turbo in that WRX? They all look the same. They all have the same characteristics under the hood. You can see the transmission connects to the base of the engine back there. And overall, again, a very easy platform to work on with a pretty reliable transmission, especially for a 152 horsepower motor. You really don't hear about these things failing very often. And here we have a Crosstrek Wilderness, which is actually the very same one that I just finished doing a full review and a driving review of. But you'll notice this is the last of the 4 engines. This is the 2.5 liter Subaru Boxster engine. Makes 182 horsepower. Again, has the same transmissions, one of those 2, and then being a Wilderness, it has the transmission cooler to help not overheat the transmission. That way you can run a bigger lift, having 9.3 inches of ground clearance, an aggressive all-terrain tire from the factory, and your full factory warranty. So Subaru is, they're playing hard ball, having some of those upgraded features that put more stress on the drivetrain, but then they add a transmission cooler to compensate for it. So again, this engine looks identical to everything else that you can see on this dealership lot and everything else that they're producing for engines. So unlike Toyota, unlike Lexus, who just lost their ranking, they scrapped some pretty good engines. They're really reliable V8 and V6 from their truck platforms to add complex turbocharged hybridized engines. And we know where that's gotten them. They've lost their rating because those engines were not reliable enough and they didn't meet the standards that you and I would expect. Subaru, on the other hand, everything is easy to work on. A lot of the parts are interchangeable. Any average Joe can watch one of my videos and learn how to change your oil and do it in 20 minutes and save $50 or more from dealership fees or independent shop fees. They're just easy platforms, and the modern ones are really good. And while I'm currently sitting in the lower trim level of the Subaru Forester for 2025, you'll notice that the interior to this looks just about identical to everything else. The door panels, all the materials, there are things that are about this design that are going to help it to age really well. It's not going to go out of date. It's not going to seem like a relic in just 2 years. The infotainment system on basically every automaker is ancient after about a year. But the system, the 11.6-inch screen, love it or hate it, it's probably here to stay for a while. And they keep making it better. When I drive a 2025 or our own 2025 Forester, the screen does work better than it did on my Outback. So at least Subaru, just like their powertrains, they keep refining, they keep making them easier to work on, easier to give you more creature comforts and options and just make life a little bit easier. And Subaru is not about over-complexing everything. They're about making things simple. Check out this one. You do have a wireless charger, you do have some plugins tucked away, but you just have a basic gear shifter. You have an electronic parking brake, big cup holders, 12 volt, some storage. There's really no gimmicks, there's no nonsense. This is pretty much straightforward design. So ultimately, guys, between the electronics, the powertrains, the similarities, the global platform, the ease of maintenance, and anything else I've mentioned in this video today, Subarus are now, according to Consumer Reports, the #1 brand in reliability. And I believe it. I'm honestly not surprised. There's the reason why I, for the most part, switched from Toyota trucks to Subarus. I think they offer a good value. You look at the window sticker of any of these vehicles, they're all in the mid $30,000 ballpark if it's a bigger SUV, and in the 20s if they're not. Subaru is keeping up with what Americans can actually afford, and they're not price gouging you like the American automakers, or kind of like what Toyota has done in recent years. These are still affordable, they're good, they're getting better every single year, and a lot of people have fantastic success stories of where their Subarus took them, where they took them reliably, the kinds of terrain you can cross and trek over, and something like this specifically being a wilderness trim level, but really it's not that much different than a regular one. Regular ones are going to meet the needs of most average people, and they're going to make life easier for you. And there's a reason why I always want to have a Subaru in the family. I just think they're a fantastic bargain, and I think they are one of the most reliable vehicles that you can buy today. And if you got anything out of this video, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. If you completely disagree with me, let's talk about it in the comments down below. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best. I hope you take care, and until next time, see ya.